Hello everyone, this is Lisa Kester with Wild Acorns Pottery, and I have another video for you today. And we've been busy around here getting ready for Thanksgiving. Today is Monday and Thanksgiving is Thursday. But we're putting up Christmas stuff too because we got to get a head start. My son loves Christmas. Let me move this over a little bit. I can see a glare on my glasses. Don't know how to stop that. But anyway, you can see we got leaves falling outside, and it's a pretty day though. It's not raining, so that's good. Tomorrow we're supposed to get a lot of rain. I don't know why I always give the weather forecast. Anyway, this is what we're doing today. So a lot of people ask me how to make these, and they are hand-built cowbells. So you can put a clapper in here made out of Charlie. My husband's leaving, so he's got to bark. I guess he thought somebody was coming in. That's Charlie, my big pyrodoodle. He's part Great Pyrenees and part poodle, and he's about 1.5 years. He's a big baby. Anyway, so here's how the inside looks. I've got 2 rusty bells and some copper wire. But makes a nice noise. And you can, because I coiled it, and I'll show you that at the end, but because I coiled it like that on the inside, you can adjust these. You can pull them down a little bit. And then, well, if you're not holding on to it, makes a nice little noise. Anyway, that's what we're making. We're going to hand build these today. I got to do a class on this next week, so I thought I should do some videos on it. Now this one has got, here's another one, but this one, see, I've got this here. It's like a wire with raffia wrapped around it, and this one is just hemp rope, which I kind of like. Let me hold them both up together, but see, this won't stay up. But I kind of like the hemp rope on there. Looks more rustic. So yeah, but I didn't put the bells in here yet. So now you can tell when these knock together, okay? They make a really nice noise too. So you don't have to make your bells out of these rusty bells. I ordered those off of Amazon, but I think I'm going to try to make some clappers too. I think they call them clappers when they're in a bell, but makes them out of clay too, because the clay makes a real nice sound. And so remember, when you're rolling out your slab, the thicker the slab, the lower the sound. So if your clapper is, because you can just cut out a circle and a circle inside, or you can make a solid circle. You can make it look like a flower. You can really do anything. But the thicker it is, the lower the sound will be. So keep that in mind. Let me lower you down here. Hope you guys are all doing well. Let's see there. Okay, so here is my slab of clay. Ooh, I hope it's not too stiff. That's the one thing about working on hardybacker board. If you let your clay sit there very long, it'll be hard as a rock. You just have to be, I like it because your clay doesn't stick at all, and it wipes clean, so you don't have any residue and dust you're breathing in, because clay dust is toxic. You do not want to work on cloth. That is a huge no-no. No. You will never, no matter how much you wipe it, you will never get all the clay dust out of it. So what I'm doing is just kind of saturating this a little bit, because I'm afraid it's sat a little long, and I don't want it to suck any more water out of it. Hardybacker board is what they put in showers to keep them waterproof. It's basically like a concrete board. So it's rough on the bottom side and smooth on the top side. It looks like drywall, but it is not drywall. But it's great for hand building especially, like I said, if you're trying to build something that you want to stand up and you want the clay to be stiff, it works great for that. But you just have to be careful, like I said. You don't want it to dry out too fast, and it will. This is the same thing that I recycle my clay on. I'm not a big studio. I work out of my house. This studio here is actually the back part of my house, which I guess would be the family room, but I stole it, turned it into a studio. And then I have a little greenhouse off the side of my house that has my kiln in it. Okay, so when you roll out a slab, okay, make sure you're taking your rib and you're compressing it in both directions. And you're not really compressing the clay per se, but it does bring all the air bubbles out. And, you know, if you're using recycled clay, which I am, you can see some of the bacteria that's formed in there, and that won't hurt your clay. But if you're allergic to mold or anything, it can mess with your sinuses. So you want to go both ways, and it helps your piece from warping when you do this. So it does help. I know I hear some people say, oh, compressing doesn't do anything. Well, it does. It really does. Now, if you were thrown on the wheel, it's, you know, obviously it's not that big a deal when you're compressing the bottom of a mug or a bowl, but I'd still like to do it. And you could still have air bubbles in there. So normally I wouldn't suggest putting water on here, but I rolled this out and I allowed it to sit here a little too long. I'm afraid it's gonna crack when I roll it up. So put a little bit of water back in there. There we go. Okay. Now I just saved these old ads. These ads are just, you know, the kind you get in the mail. This one's for Zimmer tractors or whatever, but yeah, you get them, like this one just came, like a Black Friday thing. So I save all this because they're a nice thick cardboard, and they're nice to make, especially mug patterns, because they're almost exact size you need to make a mug. Now this is 13.5 inches long. Whoops, let me hold it down there. So 13.5 inches long this way, okay, 5.2 inches up this way. So 13.5, 5.25, or 5 1/4, 13.5. And so this one wasn't quite long enough, so I just taped an end on there, okay? So I'm going to lay this down on here. And I am not going to cut through it yet. I'm just going to make an outline so I know where I'm going to cut. And the reason I'm doing that is if I cut it first and then put the pattern on, it will make the rectangle or your pattern piece, you know, stretch out. It'll make it go out of shape, and you don't want to do that. So normally I would just take a rolling pin and roll it over. But I realized that I left all my rolling pins at the rec center where I work. So I've got this, and you can use anything. I did a class once on making your own stamps, and this is one that I did. You can't really see it on there very well, but it makes these indentations that are really cool. And then we've got some of these from, I think these are MKM, yeah, MKM. And then this one, I got this at the hardware store. So I mean, you can, you know, use a stamp for anything. So I'm going to lay this down right in the middle here. And then I have if I can find it over here, here we go. A little rolling pin. You don't have to use a rolling pin. You can just use your hands. There we go. Ouch, got my finger caught. So you put your pattern in there. Is everybody getting ready for Thanksgiving? I know not everybody celebrates it. But to me, it's, it's just a holiday for family and friends to get together and eat good food. It's one of those holidays where, I guess if you're hosting it, it's, takes a lot. You got to clean your house and everything. But it's just one of those holidays where you don't have to do a lot. If you're going to someone else's house, you just make a dish and take it. But, Christmas is nice, but there's so much work involved, and, you got to buy all these presents, and, people go into debt, and then all the shopping. I'm not a shopper. I mean, I am on Amazon. Gosh, that's be the downfall of me. Oh. It's just so easy to order everything on there, isn't it? Just amazing. We're so spoiled in that. Okay, now, if this wasn't tacky, I would add cornstarch to this. But since it's not very tacky, it's not sticky, I'm not going to. But if it sticks to your mold, or your stamp, rolling pin, whatever you're using, if it sticks to that, when you pull it off, it's going to pull some of the design back out. So the cornstarch really helps you get a deeper design. Like I said, you can use anything. Now, you don't have to put a design in there at all. You can just leave it smooth, or you can, paint with underglazes on it afterwards, flowers, or, anything you want. Okay. Gotta really press hard to get that design in there. This is really hardening up. We're actually staying home for Thanksgiving this year. My other son's going to some other people's house, and it'll just be my husband and myself and my son Chris, which will be kind of nice. It'll just be a quiet Thanksgiving this year for us. All right, so if you can, where you see the seams, you just, all you gotta do is go like that, and kind of, nobody's ever gonna know, especially when it's covered with glaze. Okay, now here's just one I made. Gosh, this is glaze getting really hard. I hope it doesn't crack. I might just There we go. So yeah, just put any design you want in there. Yeah, the rolling pin is much easier. Of course, it's a lot easier too, and you don't let it get this hard. Let's see. Okay. This ought to be nice. Yeah, I think that'll look good. And then when I glaze it, now this one here is a manganese wash. It's made by Mako. It's just a wash that you wipe it on the bisqueware and you wipe it off and you glaze it, and see how it gets into the crevices and really emphasizes your design. Whereas this one is this is, if you can tell, as you can see, this is ancient copper. Trying to get it so it doesn't glare so much. You can see kind of the reds in it, almost like ancient jasper, but it's ancient copper. So that fills in a little bit of the design, but you just have to be careful you don't put it on too thick. Okay, now I'm going to lay this back down over the top here, where my marks are, and cut this bad boy out. There we go. Now I'm going to set these other clay pieces aside. They're really getting dry. I'm going to dip them in water. Whenever you're making, if you're going to sit at your table and work on hand building stuff and you've got clay scraps, I always dip mine in the water, then I lay them down. That way you can reuse your clay scraps. They don't get so dried out that you have to recycle them all. Just, re-wedge them and reuse them. And if you've got your own, like I said, if you've got your own home studio, you don't want to be recycling a bunch of clay. Okay, so I'm going to set that aside. I'm going to need that for class. I'm going to set that over here. Okay. So now I'm going to take my sponge. I'm just going to smooth down the edges. Okay, on both sides. This is really drying out. I'm putting some water on here, which I don't normally suggest, but I just worry about it cracking. But you want to smooth all your edges out. And don't use your sponge and wipe them a lot, because you're going to wipe away all the silt and just leave, you'll make it weaker, If you got grog in it, you end up with a bunch of grog on the surface, and of course we're not drinking out of these. But if it was a mug, it would make your mug surface like sandpaper. You don't want that. Okay, so now there's two ways to do this. The way I do it, I put my little loop in here now. So I'm just going to take some clay here. Okay. I'm going to roll this up. I'm going to smooth this edge down here before there we go. I'm actually going to put some water down here so I can set this down in the water. I'm worried about it not bending. Okay, make this like a little worm. Okay, so I'm going to lay this in here like this, right here in the center. And you don't want it too short, because when you fold this over, you're gonna clamp the top together. See how the top is like clamped together? So, and you want to leave this down far enough that you have room to grab it. I use needle nose pliers. And I'll show you that when I'm done here. But I'm just going to scratch this a little bit, score it. We'll wet this paintbrush and just wet that a little bit. Score this just a little bit here. It's not going to come out because you're going to fold it over and crimp it. So, but, okay, now, I'm going to get, let's see here, get a little piece of paper here. It's a little trick here. Oh, here we go. My scissors. So I'm going to stick this under here because when I crimp this together at first, I do not want that to stick to the other side. I know this is very technical. So now I'm going to score this side. And then I'm going to score the top side of this. There we go. I'm going to wet this. When I wet it, it's going to create slip. And since this is dry, I'm going to score it again and wet it again because since this is dry, it's going to want to stay flat. So it is going to try to uncurl itself in the bisque fire and go back to the way it was. And they say clay has memory. Well, that's it does. So yeah, like if you make something out of clay and you curl it up or try to make a hand-built mug, it's going to want to undo itself. So there we go. There we go. All right, that should be gooky enough. So now we are going to fold this over, say a Hail Mary that this doesn't crack in half. Now this is going to shrink. This looks like it's a lot bigger than this, than the one you see. Now I'm going to put my hand in here, okay, and I'm going to press down with my fingers and make sure that's really, this is the easiest way to do it. So you want to do it before you crimp the top. And then I'm going to get a paintbrush and I'm going to smooth that seam down. See how that is? And then I almost forgot. You want to wet both sides of here on here. Oops, I got to make sure I'm in the camera. Get in the camera, Lisa. And I'm going to score this a little bit too. I'm going to wet that nice and good. And I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. Score it nice and well. Wet my paintbrush. I want to create some slip. And you can just add slip if you have it. But I really don't think it's necessary. You can also use vinegar. Vinegar, and You could score this and just put vinegar on here, and it makes a really, really nice bond. Okay, so now I know this. I want this to be in the center here, like that. And then I'm just going to crease that together. And like I said, it wants to crack because I left it too long on this board while I was getting ready to do this video. I was getting ready to do it, and then Charlie had to go out, and then my husband was talking to me, and next thing I know, it's too hard. So, okay, so my paper fell out, but that's okay. That means that the inside loop is not sticking. But you want to press this really well because you don't want this to come open, okay? I smooth this down too. And I am going to have to try to fix this side part, but we're not going to worry about that because you are not going to let yours sit on the HardieBacker board too long. But I'll be able to fix it. It's not a big deal. Okay, so think about how far you want this apart. Now you can see my loop down in there. Oh, it came out. Well, poop pie. See, I wasn't paying attention. My loop came loose, but don't worry. I'm going to get my piece of paper back out of there. Okay. And I'm just going to make sure that my loop is attached really well in here. And you can also, like you can take what's left of these. Remember I used this for the loop? You can take those. And you can dip them in water. Okay, let me do this one. I'll show you what I'm doing. It'll just make it stronger. You don't have to do this. See how it's laying in there, that loop? That little snake? It's got a little piece to stick in the other end in there. Oh gosh, I'm out of this. Let me see. Sorry. I should have moved the camera up a little bit. So I'm going to push that in place with my paintbrush. I'm going to work that in there. So I want this loop to stay in the middle. You don't want it to fall to one side. Okay. I'm going to try to manipulate it a little bit here. Got these big giant hands of mine. I got my dad's hands. So it's hard to get in there. I'm going to put my piece of... I need to move... I'm going to move this forward a little bit. Hang on. Got so much stuff sitting around here. Oh, way too much stuff. There we go. Okay, see that? So I'm going to lay this paper back down in here. Now you can, see that? You want it to stay up in there, and you can see where I put that little snake, piece of snake coil in there. So I just smooth that down in there. I think you can see pretty well, can't you? There you go. And then I'm going to smooth this seam here down. Just take my brush and smooth it down. There you go. And just make sure when you set this upside down, that is in the middle there, and it's not touching either side. So look at the shape you have, if you like the shape, okay? And then you just set it down to dry. You can kind of tap it here, and you can, I always kind of, you can round these sides off a little bit. You can either just pat them. Let me see. You can just pat them. Kind of makes them not so square. Or you can cut them off. Or you don't have to do anything. There you go. Then I'm going to smooth this down. Now you can leave the crease in the top if you want. I mean, it's handmade. You don't need to cover up all your stuff. But in this case, I do try to cover it over a little bit so that it doesn't try to open back up in the kiln. There you go. Okay, so now here's the next step. We're going to take, now there's two ways to do this. Some of the ladies in my class, they like to put this hole right down the center. Okay, now if you put the hole straight up and down here, you don't need to put the loop inside. Okay, if you do it this way though, I've never done it this way because I like when I make these, okay, so this, I want a different piece of material to hang it than what I'm going to use to hang the bells or your clapper, whatever you choose to make your clapper. Like see in here, I'm using copper wire. These will be on my Etsy site too if anybody's interested. But yeah, you can see the copper wire in there. I don't know, you can kind of see it. But you'll see. I'm gonna put one together. Oh, it fell off. Hey, that's not good. I'll have to put that back on there. I'll do that later. Gosh, I had that really clamped on there too. Okay, so, but if you do it this way, then you're gonna have to, I don't know how to show this. When you put your cord down in here like this, you're gonna have to tie a bead on here. Put your bead on, okay? Slide your bead up. Then you're gonna have to tie a knot, big knot here, and a big knot here. Okay, so you're gonna have your clapper, whatever kind of clapper you want at the bottom. You're gonna hook your clapper down here, probably gonna be more up like this. Hook your clapper here. Then you're gonna tie a knot here, slide your bead down, tie another knot, and then you're gonna slip this up underneath here in the hole. And then just, however you want to tie a knot at the top. Or if you want to put another bead up here and then tie your knot. Does that make sense? I don't do it that way because like I said, I like to use a different material to tie it with. So here's the way that I'm going to show you how to do it. And that is, so I'm going to peek inside here. And I just want to make sure that when I put my hole in here, okay, that it's in between where this where this loop is. So I'm just going to kind of look at the outside, okay? So that's where that's at. Take the end of a paintbrush and shove it through there. Actually, I'm going to use a bigger paintbrush. And you want to make sure it's kind of in the middle, you know, but your loop should be in the middle. So let's see here. Oh yeah, perfect. Perfect. So yeah, so you want to make this hole big enough to fit whatever you're going to hang it with. So keep that in mind, because it, you know, remember, it'll shrink. So I make mine pretty big, because I've done this enough that they shrink, and then you can't get your material through there, your cord. Just take your fingers and smooth down all the little burrs. Okay, so you end up with that. I think that'll be big enough. I want to run this through again. Make it pretty big. Twist it a little bit. Get it. And then just take my fingers, wet them, and just kind of I said I'm going to make sure that this is well sticking together. There you go. And there you go. That's all there is to that part. Okay. So there's one side. Here's the other side. You can see where some of that bacteria or that mold is growing. But so all you want to do is now set it down and cover it with plastic for a few days before you fire it. But before you set it down, go back in there again and just make sure that that loop is not stuck to one side. Make sure it's right there in the center. I'm going to move mine over just a little bit. There we go. I'm just kind of touching it up a little bit, finessing it a little bit. Okay. And then I'll even check it again. I'm going to carefully set that over. And I'll even check it again before it's completely dry to make sure that that's not sticking to one side. Because if it is, that's a mess, because you'll never get your wire through there, or your loop, or however you're going to do it. You'll never get that through there. Okay. So now set this aside. I'm going to put my clay back in the bag here. I'm going to dip it in the water first, though. Get it nice and wet. And then set it back in the bag so that when I go to use it again, I can just re-wedge it and not have to recycle it. Let's face it, recycling is no fun. At my pottery class where I teach, I make the students recycle their own stuff, and it just, teaches them how to recycle. It teaches them how to, I guess, not waste clay, only take what you need. Okay. All right, so now, we got this one. You can see now see how this is a little bit closer together? I wouldn't do that again. I like them a little bit further apart so they have room to bang. But they do hit more easily when they're closer together, so there's nothing, wrong with either way. I don't think you can see. I'm trying to show you that coppery color, but excuse me. Anyway, so you got the loop inside. You can see it in there. Okay, so now I'm going to take, this is a piece of, it's not real copper, it's copper color, but it's 16 gauge copper wire. And like I said, I just got it off of, you can get it at Michael's, Hobby Lobby, or get it on Amazon. And this piece here is, let me measure it. This one is 10 inches. So 10 inches long. So I've got another end of an old paintbrush, and I'm going to wrap it around here. And the reason I do it this way is so that if people want to adjust their bells or their clapper, whatever you're using, you can just, you can alter it. It's easy to pull it down, see, without having to unhook it. So there's a method to my madness. But you got to make sure that when you get the bells, you hook them on really well, because like the other one, it'll come off. And I had that one on there pretty good. Now you can do 1, 2, 3. I'm doing 2. I don't know why. I just am doing 2. So you want to put these on first. Put this one on. I'm just going to loop it on here. And then I'm going to take the bottom one. And then I'm going to take my needle nose pliers. Aren't they wonderful? These are needle nose pliers, if you don't know what they are. They cut wire. See, they're wire cutters. You can tell these have been used a lot. And they're so nice for curling wire over. Bending wire, curling wire. It's okay, so I'm going to loop that over. See how I'm looping that over? And then I'm going to just close it up really well. And it shouldn't come off. There we go. Okay, now you're left with this piece up top, okay? So I'm just going to bend it up like that, so it's like this. Can you see that? And then I'm going to take this and I'm going to hook it. Sometimes you got to maneuver this a little bit. And then sometimes, see, I had to curl it a little bit. It's not really too hard. Sometimes it takes some finagling, but this one, of course, is going to be harder than any of them because I'm doing a video. There we go. Okay, so now it's inside there. So now, take my needle nose pliers, and I'm just going to, and I'm not going to be able to see in here probably. I don't know if you can really see in there, but I'm going to take that wire. I'm just going to bend it over. There you go. Okay. And I'm just going to manipulate a little bit so it doesn't come undone. There we go. Okay. Now, there you go. So, whoops, there we go. I'm going to make this one come back down here, curl it so these two are together. There. And then they're not banging very much, are they? There we go. I mean, like I said, if you want to have them come down, or even if you want to push them up, okay, make them shorter, you just push it up a little bit. That's what's the nice part about. There you go. Now it's shaking a little more, but So if you had a clapper made out of clay, I think the sound would be louder. Let me move this up a little bit, the camera. Oh, there we go. I'm back. It's still daylight. It gets dark so early anymore. So there we go. Some of them make a lot of noise. There you go. So this is called the clapper, but I'm using bells. Just using rusty old bells. But you can also, some of the ladies take I think I'm trying to think what it's called, not a flapper, clapper, and then it's a sail. So a lot of them continue this cord down and put what they call a sail on there, something that's going to catch the wind and move it back and forth. So you can do that too. But there we go. Yeah. So what do you think? You like it? I think they're cute. I've seen them, you know, made out with like a bird up top. I've seen them where, in fact, I was going to make one where I smoothed all this down or made ridges and did flowers that, you know, come up and around and go around. And there's some make them out of look like cows and birds and, you know, whatever. So, I mean, there's a lot of different variations, but, you know, it's always fun to hang a bell. So I hope you liked that video. If you like this video, please share it and let me know what you think. And yeah, sharing always helps. And thanks for watching. And I hope you have a great holiday. Don't eat too much. And I will see you in the next video.